What's up, fan base? Yes, you are now known as the fan base. Today we are discussing the best anime ever. Well, maybe not the best anime ever, but the best of anime with Animac from Anime Uproar.
Hello,
And
sirs. I'm being very formal. I don't know why. What's
that's
up?
way too formal. The Rant Cafe is usually on his channel, linked in the description every Thursday. And we also have, for the first time ever, discussing the best anime ever, the best guy ever. Yeah!
Yo, my name is
What?
my name is
Who?
my name is best guy ever.
Oh,
There
that
you
was
go.
good.
All right,
That was
nice.
good,
Everybody,
man.
I thought about that on the way home.
Pretty.
Oh, pleasure to be here. What's up, guys? What's going on?
All right, so you're the new guy. Would you like to start off?
Sure. Shall I just dive right into it with my pick here?
Dive right into it.
Let's just jump. Let's jump right into it.
Let's just get right into it.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
We're
Sounds
getting
good.
Philip DeFranco here next week, so
Excellent. I put together a whole list here so that I could peruse it at my leisure and decide which one I wanted to go with. I thought about going for like some of the classics, your Golden Boys, your Fooly Coolies, your Aeromanga senseis, your night shift nurses, but I put all those aside and I think I'm going to go with Kaiji. I'm going to go with Kaiji as possibly one of certainly the greatest anime of all time. Now everybody knows normally I would pick Gurren Lagann, but I'm giving that place up today to talk about another show that certainly ranks among the greatest anime ever produced. Now,
can we also before have a moment of silence for your actual best anime ever Gurren Lagann video that was taken down?
Yeah,
Ruthlessly?
it was taken down.
it was removed for audio copyright. By,
It was for the song at the end, right?
Yeah, the Mina no Peace, the second ending song of Gurren Lagann. It was taken down like 3 days ago or so by like Sony Music or whoever owns it. It is currently
an older video I seen it a while ago.
Yeah, it's currently under dispute. So I'm hoping in the next like 10 or so days it'll come back. But I don't know. I don't know, man. With music, it's finicky. We'll have to see. If not, have no fear, fams. I will re-edit it and get it up. It is basically the most important video on my channel, at least to me. So it will survive. Have no worries.
That sucks ass, man. Like that, like most important video on your channel, like to you personally, and it's like they do that. Oh man, I would be so triggered, dude. I would not be calm right now.
I'm actually pretty sympathetic to like companies. Like if you think about it from their perspective, this is like somebody they don't know, they haven't authorized, like using their song, and I'm just straight up using their song. I would argue that it's for fair use purposes, but I would understand a company wanting to maintain like control over how their intellectual property gets utilized. So I understand where they're coming from. I would just frankly like to be able to argue my case, as the song is specifically there to be analyzed, especially within the context of like analyzing Gurren Lagann as a whole. So I'm hoping if it gets to that point, I mean, I don't know if I'm going to fucking go to court. Generally, that doesn't happen, but I will fight this. This is not right. I don't think what's happened here, but we'll see. We'll see. No,
you're way too reasonable of a person. Like now, I don't trust you because you sound so calm and reasonable. You're supposed to be like, what the fuck?
I know. That's my thing.
You should talk about like YouTube claims and shit. We're like, this is a fucking travesty and injustice against.
Well,
I'm much more polite when I'm not in the trenches of Discord. When I'm in front of the fan base,
yeah.
You're not really calling your fan base the fan base, are you?
The fam base.
F-A-M.
Fan base.
That's
Get
worse.
with the times,
Call
man.
them just a fan base, it would be humorous.
Well, you know what's funny? There's this about that like attitude. People have often said of me, and I think it is a fair thing to say that like I'm somebody. Everybody knows I kind of worship Kamina as like an ideal person, but I'm very aware, especially if you watch that video that's now deleted, but hopefully we'll be back soon, of the flaws in like Kamina's character. Like he's a rebel, through and through. He's a guy who exists to destroy an existing structure. But just like Simone in the Daigurren Dan later on in part 2 or the second half of Gurren Lagann, he doesn't really have much of an ability to build something on top of destroyed. That's why you need a guy like Rossiu. And so I'm kind of somebody who is a Rossiu who wishes he was a Kamina. And Rossio, you can kind of see throughout the series, like he feels great anguish at the weight that's placed on him and how he has to, like it's so hard. The job that Rossio has is so much more difficult in terms of like long-term sustainability. Guys like Simone and Kamina have the luxury of kind of putting in little bursts of like massive energy to destroy what was there before. But Rossio has the Herculean task of building a new society involving like with a fair system that fairly, controls like the entire galactic population. How the fuck that is unbelievably challenging and difficult. It's way more difficult than just overthrowing one dictator, i.e., Lord Genome. And so the point I'm getting to is that what this comes back to is that I am like Rossio and that I coldly and, sociopathically think to myself about what is the most logical way and the best way for me to achieve my goals. And I could be out there like tweeting about how evil Sony Music is, but that would do nothing to help me in the event of, let's say theoretically, I actually go to court. If I put out a bunch of tweets screaming about how much I hate Sony Music and how all my fans should go out and like attack Sony Music and all that shit, all that would do is, give them ammo against me to do any of that. So I think it is the best way to help my chances. No matter, I'm a guy who thinks way ahead. So like a lawsuit is not going to happen. But if it did, what I'm doing right now, I think is the best possible approach to just be cool. And who knows, in 14 days, it might just come back. You never know. So I'll get mad if I see things that are super unjust. But, other than that, I like to stay level-headed. But I'm sorry to go on a huge side tangent.
So basically, what the huge side tangent was saying was, in Discord private chats, you could lose your mind. But on Twitter, you have to be a nice guy. That's basically
exactly. With my friends,
that's exactly what I'm saying. In front of the fan base.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair.
By the way, that is when you were talking, it's like listening to myself. Like I have the same view of Kamina as my idol in life.
Yeah.
And I totally understand the complexity of running. I studied political science, right? So I understand the complexity of actually running a society versus a revolution or something.
Right.
Which is why reason why I love Gurren Lagann. So yeah, man, I think we became best friends right now.
We certainly see eye to eye on this issue for sure.
Okay, get ready to be triggered though. I've mentioned his he thought Kamina's glasses were orange.
Well, okay, the thing is though, there has been a mass propaganda campaign unknowingly for people to think that Kamina's glasses are in fact orange. And I described this in great detail in the video on my channel. Kamina's glasses are not fucking orange. Everyone watch that video, and then you will be educated as to the truth of the matter here.
The reason why I'm okay with portraying them orange in certain things is like, for example, on my avatar, or if I had an avatar that had an orange one, like currently he has black, but they're actually the Kamina glasses, just black with red. Then it's less likely to get copyright issues. It's a different color, bro. It's totally different.
That's fair. That
is a terrible cover up, man. That's not true.
Well, did you actually? I think he was saying that you had previously had orange glasses. I'm just curious. Did you actually change them after watching my video exposing the actual color here?
I will admit nothing.
Oh, okay.
However,
well, there you go. We'll let the fans speculate.
The plushie that I have
that exact same one right over here.
He doesn't have glasses at all. It's weird.
I noticed that.
I have this chain so I can wear them around my neck.
Excellent. And you know what? Kamina?
Very practical.
You know what? Kamina is actually like the best possible. I mean, I love Kamina so much, but Kamina is a great example for like what we're talking about today, and kind of an example of just how like my specific approach to anime as like a fan is very different than somebody like what's his name? Well, I mean, Digibro, of course, is one I was gonna say, but then also who's a close friend of mine, and then also like anybody like Holden Reviews or like any of those guys who are like animators themselves or are extremely focused on animation. I kind of reject the label of like anime YouTuber just out of hand because I don't think it actually encapsulates what I'm trying to do. Like Digi is 100% an anime YouTuber. He's here, he's in the medium, but like what I'm here to do personally is I happen to really like anime and I grew up watching it, of course, but just as like with Kamina and Gurren Lagann, there are some people, and I was like this when I first watched the show, I'll watch a show And I will think to myself, like, wow, this encapsulates everything I want to be. Like, Kamina is the perfect man. I want to be just like him. But when you get older and become more mature, you learn that, well, Kamina actually has massive flaws as a person, many of which led to his actual death in the show, which kind of puts a pointer on, don't actually be exactly like this guy. You might end up dead. So with anime has a lot of like tropes and stereotypes and just like cheap writing shortcuts and stuff. So it's not generally grand literature but I would argue that points in Gurren Lagann, for example, are worth their weight in gold, especially for like people of the modern age. I certainly needed to hear that message in my life to make some changes that I made afterward. And just as Kamina is not a perfect man, and we can learn things from him without assuming that he's perfect. With anime itself, anime is made with a specific audience in mind, but the best anime rises above just being entertainment and really can give us lessons like any form of entertainment. There's real meaning we can take away, and I consider myself, first and foremost, if I'm going to be considered part of an anime community, what I want to be considered is somebody who mines anime for philosophical gold. That's what I would consider myself, as opposed to just someone who just loves animation specifically, which I do. I'm quite fond of it. And that's kind of, I think, what I do in my show of like best anime ever. I'm panning for gold in the river that is the constant flood of anime. And that brings me to a little show called Kaiji, which is what I want to propose today as the best anime ever. So Kaiji, if you haven't seen it, it's actually quite popular. So most people watching have probably seen it.
We're talking about Ultimate Survivor.
That's correct. First, I think it's the first season of Kaiji. I don't actually even know if it got a second season. I think I was like hoping for it, but never saw. But it's Ultimate Survivor. Yes, Kaiji Ultimate Survivor. It's the start of Kaiji's story, and it goes up to, I forget if it's like 26 episodes. Oh, but you know what? It doesn't matter. It's the first arc is like the most important one. The second's great too, but the first is the best one. So Kaiji is actually it's very best, like most anime actually. What I find is true of a lot of shows is that I could watch the first episode of almost any anime and really enjoy it, because the first episode of any anime has to do the 90% of the intellectual work of a show, because they have to set up the world, they have to introduce you to like what it's going to be about, what is the point of the show. Maybe the first 3 episodes will go into that, but the first one, they generally have to go into that stuff in depth. And in the first episode of Kaiji, we see the portrait of a man who has not capitalized on the opportunities available to him in life. And first of all, the best thing about Kaiji is how relatable it is to just people in the real world. It is the modern story of a man kind of paralyzed by honestly too much luxury in his life. Kaiji has been spoiled by society and is kind of a worthless vagrant. He doesn't have a job. He's dependent on, like, I think his family to support him in his little shitty apartment. He goes out and he just destroys other people's property for fun. He steals hood ornaments from fancy cars, and he justifies it to himself by saying, like, oh, look at these rich assholes. Obviously, if they're this rich, they don't deserve it. They fucking must have robbed the little guy. He says he has a very socialist mentality, which is indicative of a lot of people who have not done anything valuable with their life. What happens is he finds himself in a situation all of a sudden where he now has no choice. A friend of his got into massive debt, and Kaiji was the co-signer. So Kaiji finds himself laden with like something like hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt to the mob. And the mob's going to get their fucking money. Even if they have to take it by selling your fucking organs, they're going to get their money. So he's offered the chance to play basically a death game. And so he finds himself in this crazy like rock, paper, scissors, meme game on this cruise line. It's the whole big thing. But what makes Kaiji so great, and most people recognize this, is that Kaiji is specifically about a man who had no reason to put effort into his life. He was propped up by the people around him, and he had no necessity to actually self-actualize and sort of become a real man. But being put into this little box, he was forced to sink or swim. When he's pushed to this limit, Kaiji swims. He is forced to, strategize, come up with a way he's going to get out of the situation, actually apply himself. And we see Kaiji rise from the absolute depths of despair. And the show is not subtle about this. It's quite explicit, in all these things. And if you're a guy who feels lost in the world right now, or a woman, it doesn't matter. If you feel you are lost and you're despairing about your life, you don't think you have any purpose, you feel like life has let you down. It has not been everything that was promised to you as when you watch Disney movies as a fucking child. Watching Kaiji will wake you the fuck up. And I personally watched Kaiji sort of after I'd gone through my sort of adult awakening and started to become kind of what I would consider like a real human being, as opposed to just like a drone who just, is kind of not doing anything with his life. And Kaiji just kind of encapsulated everything that I believe is important about a useful and helpful way to live your life. It's just such a validating story about, like, here's life, guys. Here's a bunch of people, or here's one character going through what you're going through. It's almost similar to watching Welcome to the NHK. Welcome to the NHK is just about an incredibly depressed guy who again is kind of propped up by society. He was never forced to become a man until sort of later in the series, and he just deals with this incredible depression, which is very similar to what Kaiji is going through. But at the end, people try to help him, nothing works, but eventually he's just forced to become a man, become an independent person who self-actualizes and cares about self-improvement. And, it never completely goes away. Kaiji still, at the end of Kaiji, has his, he still has debts he has to pay off. He gets horribly disfigured as part of the gambling that he was part of. So he paid things. He owes shit. He had to pay the fucking toll to get where he is now. But something was awoken inside him. It was worth the price, because to be challenged in this way was exactly what he needed to come to value his life. And it's exactly the message I think the men of today need, the people of today need, that nothing is owed to you. Your life has no value to anybody else. It is up to you, ladies and gentlemen, to make your life worth living. Nobody else cares. Nobody's going to help you. You got to fucking do it. And if you don't, you deserve exactly what you get, because you've got all the tools at your disposal. And to watch a character do that, I think in a lot of people, touches a vein that is very underrepresented today in society. And that's why so many people see Kaiji and they don't even know why, but they just love it. They see there's something going on here that's special. And it's the element that's missing in their lives, I think. And there's all these speeches in the show about all these people who had just thrown away their lives, who hadn't done anything valuable with it. And to finally be put in a position where it's sink or swim. Some people sink. Some people do not fucking make it out. But you know what? Here's the worst thing that happens in Kaiji. Even if you lose, even if you're on the bottom rung, all that happens is that you get sent to a work camp for a couple of years to use heavy labor to pay off the debt that you accrued. Even that might be better than just having been a waste of space, hanging out in your apartment, jacking off and fucking watching anime and doing nothing. And that is such an important lesson. It's always better to get out there and fucking do something. Don't go crazy. Don't fucking join the mob or, getting roped into this kind of shit. But do something instead of just sitting there languishing in despair. Get out there and fucking apply yourself. That's exactly what Kaiji is about. And it's a lesson for the modern fucking age. And that's why Kaiji fucking rules.
Dude, that was freaking amazing. Holy cow.
And that is exactly, I think Nux would agree too. That is exactly what I watch anime for. I'm not in it for the animation. As long as the animation is not so bad that it sticks out and I'm like, man, this is cringy.
Right.
That's not my big thing. I'm in it for the philosophy and for getting lessons. I made a video a while back, 5 anime that will change your life. And the ones that I included were, of course, Gurren Lagann, Fooly Cooly, Death Note, because it got me into anime, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, and My Neighbor Totoro. But exactly this kind of analysis as you're putting into.
Right, and it's funny. I didn't even know your best anime ever series when I started my Decoded series a while back, and I sort of lost whatever. And it's basically the same idea.
Sure.
I the way I see it is that a good show, I mean, not every show, obviously, but a good show is trying to tell a story on 3 levels. It's a superficial level, you need good plot, exciting characters, whatever, story, whatever. And then there's the emotional level. I have to attach myself. I have to feel attached to the series, to the characters and to their motivations. And then the 3rd level is the metaphoric level that I have to see how this has to apply to me also. This has to apply to the world. And
that's a great way of putting it. Yeah, I like that a lot. That's a really good way of phrasing it. Yeah, you know, I just think that, that's definitely true. I like that, and I would just argue that that's kind of what distinguishes my content from other, you know, quote unquote anime YouTubers, which I don't really think of myself as. Yeah, like I would happily review like, I don't know, a fucking show that is just has great messages as well. I don't know. I'm trying to think of just like some live action show. You know what? It doesn't even matter. Who cares about categorization? The point is, that's an excellent way of phrasing it. I really like that. And I personally am definitely somebody here who watches anime mostly for the philosophical messages. And I judge it a lot on whether or not I find them valuable or not. And, you know, obviously I'm a guy who grew up watching anime, and that stuff's very important to me. That's really the honey that pulls me into a show. There's this thing I did when I did Mia Mafova. I did one episode on this aspect I called Huey's Law. Or this concept. I mean, it's a very simple thing, but I called it that. And it's like in the Boondocks when on the Christmas episode when Huey was doing the Christmas play, he described how when he just told the history and the full, like, you know, the red pilled or black pilled history of Christmas, like, yeah, it was this Roman holiday Saturnalia where all these guys would get drunk and fuck each other and like beat their wives. And it was so crazy that like it was outlawed by the Catholic Church until like, you know, 1440 or whatever. Like Grandpa's eyes glaze over. He doesn't give a fuck. And then Huey realizes, okay, people need to be black-pilled on this shit, but they don't give a fuck if I just give them facts. I have to entertain them, man. I got to suck them in. And that's what those first two layers you're talking about. That's exactly what that shit's for, to get them in so you can hit them with some philosophy. Because I think a lot of people are staunchly resistant to changes philosophically. I think the mind is very resistant to change on a lot of this stuff, and including with me. But when you see a story, that delivers a message that's, you don't really know why, but something about it gets to you. Something about it really fucking resonates. You don't know what. And you start thinking about like, oh, what did it mean? What did these characters do? And that's exactly how it was when I first watched Gurren Lagann. You know, it seems silly to even say like it took an anime, but it really fucking took an anime for me to realize that I was fucking up my life in some big ways. And it wasn't even the first time watching. It was like after several watches, I started, you know, make some connections.
That's really my whole thing, man. My whole thing is like anime can change your life. Like, you know how people do self-development and stuff, and you probably do because you sound like a motivational speaker when you speak. So I'm sure I've
looked into that. It wasn't just anime. I've looked into a lot of stuff. Kind of.
Yeah,
I don't know.
exactly.
I was just like this lost, you know, spineless, wimpy kid. You know, I was really upset that like other people were getting girlfriends. It always bothered me. Like, what am I doing wrong? Like, why am I so like scared out in public? And why can't I talk right? And you know,
look, anyone that has girlfriends isn't someone I want to emulate. So I think you're good.
Okay, sure.
You meant girlfriends, not girlfriends, I think.
Well, hey man,
I meant plural. If one guy has 6 girls, there's an issue.
Hashtag legalize it, boy. But anyway, self-improvement is kind of the thing I'm most passionate about in life. I just want, because I really, really staunchly believe every single person on the planet will be better off if they spend a good deal of their life focused on how to make themselves better, as opposed to working on how to just be comfortable with who you are now.
That's a huge issue I have with society as a whole these days, especially in America. Like,
damn right.
Oh my God. But I think that'll be the post-live discussion.
Sure, dude.
Too dangerous.
We don't want to red pill him too hard here.
One thing you mentioned, Nate, is that the whole thing about, you know, society doesn't owe anything to you, and I think that's big for me in my personal life. Some of you guys know I recently finished a PhD in political philosophy.
Congrats, dude. Congrats.
When I finished, thanks. But wait,
Dr.
when I finished, I was like, yo, I put in all this work. I'm going to get a sick job now. I'm owed a sick job because I put in all this work. But no one cared. Like I didn't apply like all over the world, but like in my area where I applied, I didn't get a single interview. No one cared. Like you said, no one cares about your degree except you. No one cares about your life except you. And basically what I did was like, to not think about all the disappointment, I was like, you know what, I'll do YouTube with my brother. I'll focus on that. And now I'm actually doing YouTube full time and loving it. So
that's kind of exactly the same path. And Nux is probably, a lot of us are probably in the same position. Like here we are, literal entrepreneurs. And I don't know about you, but I feel fucking great that I actually have some degree of control over like what I'm doing with my life, as opposed to like, I have a full-time job right now. I was lucky enough to I started YouTube while I was pursuing my degree. I finished it the beginning of 2017 and already had a job in the programming field that I work in now. But at work, I would almost describe it as an atmosphere of terror. And maybe not everybody necessarily feels that way. It's just that I really am just subject to the whims of these people. I mean, one of the people in my department just got fired the other day, and it was just strategic cuts. Yeah, well, yeah, and I mean, my job is great, and I feel very fortunate that I have it. Even if they fired me today, I would just say thank you very much for the opportunity, guys. It's been a pleasure. And you know, in some ways, I almost kind of hope that I would get fired just so that I'm forced to go straight to YouTube. And you know, again, it's this thing of like, if you have too much of a cushion, it prevents you from taking risks. And you know, risks.
So blessing in disguise. That's definitely been the case. With me, and I think that you have a great point. And like I said, with something like Gurren Lagann, like, man, I rewatch it all the time because it motivates me. It tells me, like, do the impossible, be a visionary. Because fuck, if you think about it, a rational person, someone who's realistic, a realist, will never become a YouTuber because it takes so long to get to the point where you make any money or anything. Like, you take so much free time that you put in. No one who's a realist will do it. Only a crazy idealist, a visionary. And that's why I love, you know, doing this type of thing.
Well, you know what's interesting about that? I feel like we have a slightly different view on this because a lot of people from Gurren Lagann, they do get that do the impossible attitude out of it, and I do to a great extent as well. But honestly, kind of as I think about it, for me, the biggest hero in Gurren Lagann is honestly Rossio, because of the great. When I compare the things that Rossio was forced to do as opposed to Simone and Kamina. Obviously, Kamina is like in my animalistic brain. I want to fuck Kamina. I just love him more than anything in the world. He is everything that I wish that I was. But on the
everything you wish you could supplement to yourself.
That's exactly right. Because what Kamina is, what I see in that guy is the things that I lack, you know. And I think a lot of people are like that. These are the characters we gravitate toward. You know, either they're powerful, like it's like nobody who's rich spends their time wishing that they were somebody who was rich. They wish they were like a famous, like, I don't know, a backpacker, like some adventurer or like someone with more excitement in their life. It's whatever you lack. And of course, you know, poor people, all they spend their time doing is wishing they had more money. I'm not.
If only I was rich, I'd be happy, right?
Yeah, of course. And that's what it is. Because humans, we always chase happiness, and happiness always lies in the thing that we currently lack. Because, spoilers, humans are very emotional, not completely logical beings, and we will never get to a place where we're just happy all the time. We're just not built that way. And frankly, I couldn't be happier, because if we were, we would never get anything done. So for me,
conflict leads to progress. Struggle leads to progress. No, like, so true. And I have a bit of a different view in terms of the Kamina because of my philosophical view. And basically, I think Gurren Lagann is very Platonic, like based on Plato. Because Plato's cave is literally the cave villages where they live, the underground villages where they live. And Kamina is pretty much the philosopher king. And the interesting thing about Plato's philosophy is this concept of the forms, or like an ideal that you hold up. So there's an ideal for what a tree is. And every tree is a representation of that, but is not the ideal. And that's how I see Kamina. He is the ideal that we're striving towards to be. We'll never be him.
Yeah.
But we strive towards the idea, and the more we strive, the better off we are for it, even if we never quite reach it.
You know, I definitely agree.
Constant yearning, right?
I totally agree that Kamina is sort of the ideal of one idea, of like one aspect. And I would describe it as some sort of like hyper masculinity, like energy to the point of destruction, you know, like passionate pursuit of your goals. All those things he is absolutely sort of an avatar for. And again, that's why I am so drawn to the character, and you as well, I can see. But I think when it comes to like a fully rounded person, you know, I would argue that even Simone is not actually like the perfect god king that we describe at the end of Gurren Lagann. And you know, people kind of argue that because you know, Kamina Simone begins sort of part 3 still with like being sort of a Kamina 2.0, and it's over the course of like the second half into the third part where he, you know, in the third part, like sort of the Rossio arc, he recognizes like, oh wow, my approach is not working for every situation here. Rasu was honestly right, and like the people like Rasu, a more structured, sort of conservative approach to life is actually an appropriate way to go some of the time. And then, of course, it's just like we get the big glorious finale when, okay, they just kidnapped my fucking wife, and we will do whatever it takes. Now we can just fucking unleash everything we have. We no longer need delicate solutions here. We kind of get to indulge in the unbelievable power that Simone has at his disposal. But that is not always the right solution, which is, of course, the entire message behind the spiral nemesis, which is, this thing that just says, if everyone was a Kamina, if everyone was just producing untold amounts of spiral energy unrestrained, the universe would simply be destroyed. We would not be able to sustain that. And so you need the guys like Rasu who are, the bummers, the like, whoa, guys, you got to slow down. We can't actually be all going crazy with our spiral energy. And that's the whole exchange between Simone and the anti-spiral in the finale of the show, when this anti-spiral says, okay, please just protect the universe. And Simone says, of course, human beings aren't that foolish. Referring to, I would say, the lessons he's learned from like Rasu, as well as, refining the ideas that Kamina had. And, I talk about this in my video, of course, that it's important. We want to mathematically maximize freedom and happiness for everyone. And I really think that is the main message that comes out. Like, Gurren Lagann is a great, grand journey where ultimately we arrive at the conclusion that, yeah, man, life is complicated and different problems require different approaches to manage, like whatever the issue is at that time. And the problem at the end of Gurren Lagann is, okay, we know the spiral nemesis is there, and we know how to cause it. Now we need to put in the unbelievable, agonizing work for the rest of time to make sure that nothing goes crazy, that no spiral races become another, get anywhere close to achieving a spiral nemesis by just going crazy with their spiral energy. And that is I hate people who do reviews of Gurren Lagann and just say like, yeah, man, it's about just do whatever and it's dumb action, like doesn't whatever, man, just fucking go crazy all the time. It's infuriating. It's infuriating because it's right there in front of you.
Those 27 episodes, there's so fucking much.
I know, and I understand
I
why
could write a book just on Gurren Lagann. A book.
You wrote one, you're saying?
I said I could. I haven't yet. I haven't lost it to that extent, but I might.
Well, I think we're kind of skirting around like some details here. I think for the most part, you and I generally see eye to eye on this. We might just have a difference of like what our personal favorite point is, but clearly we both understand like the big points, and I hope that everybody listening understands that it is the greatest piece of work that's ever been created of all time.
It is fucking amazing, bro.
It sure is.
Oh no! Here comes the flag.
He's busting out the flag.
And I have another one on my wall too, like in the same room. Like you got to have at least 2 of these in one room at all times.
Of course. I've got of course my my like Kamina cape sort of thing I wear sometimes. Oh, how silly! How silly!
Where are you exactly, like physically?
What do you mean? I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio. If that's what you mean.
Oh shit! Do you go to Anime North?
Well, I moved out here a couple years ago, and I've kind of been so focused on the grind of like YouTube that I haven't really like looked for conventions or anything nearby. So I've never been to that one specifically, and I haven't been to any in a couple years.
It's in Toronto, and it's amazing. It's like over 30,000 people. I already have my tickets and stuff. If you come, man, we bring that big flag. We carry it around, and everyone sees us in the whole convention, and then it's crazy.
When is it? That sounds pretty cool.
May 25th to 27th.
May 25th. All right, let me get back to you.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I'd love to meet you. Nux, bro. Nux, it's like you have 2
Okay, if best
BFFs.
guy ever is going, then maybe it's what. No, I'm kidding. I can't.
No,
No promises. No promises.
I identify as a Kaminatard, as a Kamina sexual, whatever you want to call it.
Same.
Don't know. I didn't get that appeal from Kamina like you guys did. I love the guy. He's a great character. He's not my favorite character from the series.
Well, I completely recognize the fact that like I have a lot of personal baggage that attracts me to Kamina so much. Like a lot of it is obviously like me kind of lionizing what I see as like again, it's the things that I lack as a person I see in Kamina. So I lionize the guy in my own mind massively, which is actually pretty interesting because that's exactly what they do in the show as well. With the statues and all that stuff. But, so it's easy to get swept up in that narrative. But Yeah, I don't
I
know.
got so triggered when they took down the statue. I was like,
Oh my god.
execute everyone who was involved in this.
Like
Firing squad.
You know what's fascinating about that?
For me, I
Uh-huh.
I always when I watched it, I regarded Kitan as an evolved form of Kamina.
Oh, get the
Interesting.
fuck out of here.
I don't know why you would do that, but that's interesting.
Because he had the faults. He didn't make it himself. He had the faults initially, and he ended up becoming more. And he didn't have super spiral power until his last few moments. And
well, neither did Kamina. Neither did Kamina.
Neither did Kamina, but that was a different part of the series. It really wasn't as important.
Nux, you're just a fucking bureaucrat, man.
Well, you know, Kitan couldn't really handle that life either. Like, he did okay.
But he made the most of what he could, as opposed to Kamina, who was reckless in his actions.
Well, hey, I mean, to be fair, we never saw Kamina get a chance to be a bureaucrat. Though, does anyone on this God's green earth want to see Kamina as a bureaucrat? No, I don't ever want to see that.
It's larger than life, right? But that's
exactly
the thing. And like you said, you can't have everyone being larger than life. You can't put those people in every role, but you need someone like that to be the ideal to strive towards. And I hate, like, when people say things like Kamina is reckless and dumb. I want to strangle them. Like Screw Attack had like a list of top 10 dumbest anime characters. And
no.
Yeah, they included Kamina. I was like, Kamina is the fucking philosopher king, bro. If Kamina didn't know that there was an outside, nothing would have happened. If Kamina wasn't the first to take over a gunman, none of this would have happened. If Kamina didn't show them the truth, to show them not to conform, to reach for the impossible, to look beyond the paradigm, none of it would
So you're saying it wasn't all coincidence?
Honestly speaking, Kamina probably had a significantly higher IQ than a lot of the people around him, because he made these kind of connections that, like, the entire village that Yoko lived in never even thought about, hey, maybe we could pilot one of those. They never even considered that. But Kamina immediately, his synapses fucking fire.
Constantly thinking outside the box. He's a visionary.
Thinking outside the box is the mark of an intelligent guy. And
I'm not saying
let's not forget.
I never claimed he's stupid. He just, I don't feel like his own character. I don't feel like he himself grew. He was a paradigm, but he himself didn't have any growth.
Well, I would disagree with that. Remember in episode 3? Well, at the very least, there's the obvious moment of Kamina starts the series, or this is episode 2, where he starts the series on a quest to find his father. Yep. People forget that, but that's really important to his character. And it's just that by episode 2, that mystery gets.
What's your point?
Well, my point is just that Kamina does grow throughout the story, but because, like, yes, he does represent one idea. I actually slightly disagree.
Not great.
Well, what do we mean by great? Like, a character doesn't need to be, like Arasu to still be a character worthy of respect and at least enjoyment. But what I like about Kamina is not really his great intelligence as much as it is the idea that he represents. And all I'm saying, I'm not saying he's a genius, though I do think he's very smart. I'm just arguing that I think there's a lot we can learn about life from Kamina. That's the extent of my argument.
Kamina is like willpower and human.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I really like Kamina. But I like him more as a figure than as a character. He's someone that I would like to emulate in many ways of my life. But Kitan, he did that emulation. He became a Kamina at the end.
No, but listen.
But he went a level
Kamina is
past that.
I just wanna add to what Nate was saying. Yeah, that moment when Kamina discovers the body of his father and he realizes it's his father, he has an existential crisis. He's like, and you can see his body turn into a skull, mirroring, like skeleton mirroring his father, saying, like, he realizes his own mortality. He realizes that it's that and everyone could die, and like he starts to doubt himself. But then he remembers, no, I'm Kamina. I gotta do this and I gotta do this. And by the way, remember the situation they're in. They're in a desperate situation, outnumbered, outgunned. Like, humanity is in a desperate situation. Without someone as reckless as Kamina, they would have been hopeless. Anyone, if you're a realist in that situation, you're like, we're fucked. We can't fight. We can't do anything. We're fucked. Kamina is the guy that was needed. They needed him in that world. He is messianic figure, I guess you could say.
Yeah,
but
he is.
But he's necessary. He's a visionary.
And, you know, we don't need. I don't need to spend any time.
Yeah, fine, fine. But that's not the point I was trying to make at all.
If you like Kitan better, you know, so be it. Fair enough. But I don't know, man. That's very strange to me. But fine. I'm totally okay with you liking character better. It's a good show. I don't know. That's all I'm saying.
It was a good show, and I'm not putting down God Kamina here.
Please.
I mean,
God forbid.
Okay, let's be honest. He's not Usopp level, but he's almost there. I'd say.
I'm not really the biggest fan of the God Usopp meme. I like it just like I was never biggest fan of like the Buggy God meme. I thought it was funny. I honestly feel it's a tired joke. Both of those at this point. Usopp is like newer, so that's fine. But I don't know. We don't need to get into that.
I didn't even know the Buggy thing was still.
And the whole point of Kamina, because he starts off as like, you could say, oh, this OP protagonist, main character, plot armor, but then he dies in episode 8, and the show is like telling
Spoilers.
you. Yes. The show is like telling you, it's like, no, he's not some OP guy. He's a normal human being. He bleeds and he died. And yet,
the moment when
his idea
dying was the most important moment in the entire series because it broke everything that we had come to expect from the. I mean, if you were smart, you would have been paying like everything that Viral is doing in the show, which is again a very forgotten point. There is a mystery element throughout the first half of the show where Viral is really the one doing this investigation and like figuring out like why exactly do we suppress the humans underground? Like what moral justification do I have for these things I've been told my whole life I should be doing? And he explores that, and it's fascinating, and it's one of the best elements of the first half of the show.
Viral's one of my favorite characters. My 3 favorite characters are Viral, Rasyu, and Kitan.
Well,
I think they're all fascinating characters. I like Simone also for his growth and whatever. But
Simone's just kind of like, he's like the player surrogate almost. I mean, he's fine, and I do like him. He's a very, relating to his journey is fantastic. But, he's just kind of the guy who wins.
He's the pipeline between me and the show. That's how I saw him, kind of.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. I don't look for someone that I can relate to necessarily. I look for someone that I can strive to be. And that's why I love Kamina.
What do we have to learn from a character that's just... I mean, he's the guy learning the lesson, just like I'm watching the show and learning the lesson. So, like, we're on the same level. So there's nothing really to love here. You can like it. I don't know.
Kamina is not a self-insert unless you're like the most egotistical person in the world.
No one in the world is like Kamina. I mean, maybe some people are, but everyone's gonna look at him and be like, Jesus Christ, who the fuck is this guy? He's fucking insane. And then you learn to love him. I certainly did.
Yeah. And also the other crazy thing is even after he dies, the ideas that he puts forth, the courage, the concept lives on. And when Simone is being shown that illusion by the anti-spirals of Kamina and him just being petty thieves,
right?
Kamina leaves such a strong impression on him that he's like, this is bullshit. Because Kamina is still there in spirit, fighting with them. Bro, I have tears in my eyes. Yes.
Yeah, it's the greatest love story ever told. It's a lot. It's a lot. Anyway, what kind of anime do you like, Nux?
I like Gurren Lagann, but not as much.
Hey, there you go. That's a right answer.
Not as much as you guys do.
Spent a lot of time thinking about it.
Pretty sure it's top 10.
That's you don't got to defend yourself. If you hated it, that's cool, dog.
Definitely
I don't want to put any pressure on you.
Definitely,
to like something.
I liked it the second time more than the first.
Hey, that's cool.
And honestly, I liked it even more after I watched your video on it.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. Fantastic.
To be quite honest.
A lot of people, well, you know what? That's enough. I don't feel any need to ramble on any further.
No, I think it's always a pleasure to meet someone who gets it, who gets the levels. Because a lot of people are like, oh yeah, Gurren Lagann, it's a shonen kind of thing, and I'm just like, oh dear.
So the thing is, for me, my journey as an anime fan was basically before. So there were 3 stages. There was Pleb Nux, who was just, I liked whatever was exciting. I was looking for those first 2 levels more than I was looking for the 3rd level.
Yeah.
And then I became anime critic Nux, who started bashing everything for everything just because I just started my YouTube channel, and that was the thing. And at this point, I'm more comfortable in my third level. And that's pretty much what I look for in an anime too.
Is that woke Nux?
That is woke Nux,
Excellent.
master of the fan base.
Glad to hear it.
So I actually wanted to talk about Fate Zero, but we don't have enough time.
Oh, we got 13 minutes.
What-
that's
what
enough to cover the baby amount of intellectual content there is in Fate Zero.
How is it already been like 15 minutes? I thought we were here for like 10 minutes, dude.
But instead,
right.
since we only have 12 minutes,
true,
I would
true.
rather talk about Code Geass.
Okay.
Because there was so much overlap between Code Geass and Gurren Lagann that I think a lot that was said was already said. I mean, a lot that needed to be said was said.
Have you seen by any chance my video about the dumbest writing ever from Code Geass specifically?
I couldn't.
No, but I'm sure I know which one it is. It's the if I were to
know what it is.
hypothetically tell you to kill all the Japanese.
That's the one. That's
of
the
course.
one. Yep.
I couldn't do it because like I know the argument, and I'm sure you make good points. But I was like,
There's
I'm
no
just gonna get
argument.
triggered. I'm just
There's
gonna get
no
triggered.
argument to that massacre.
I know,
That was
I know.
terrible. That was the worst part of the series.
Okay, as long that's fine. That's fine. There's plenty other good in it, so I'm not trying to say it's all shit. I like
so
the
for
show.
Code Geass, not a perfect anime for sure. But what I really liked about it is again the philosophy, because there's a lot of military strategy, things like that, human nature, war, and philosophy. So like the idea, and we touched on this actually earlier, the idea of essentially Charles trying to create the Ragnarok Connection, a human instrumentality project where there will be complete equality, no lies, nothing like that. And Lelouch is like, no. Without conflict, without suffering, we would stagnate as human beings. There would be
which is basically the same exact strategy and back and forth at the end of Naruto, if you've seen it, any of you.
That's true with the ultimate Tsukuyomi or whatever.
Yeah,
it is.
it was essentially the same idea, and the anti-spirals have a different theme. They have a totally different outlook.
Yeah.
However, there is a lot of overlap as well.
You know, it's very interesting. Sorry, you know what? I just interrupted. Please go on.
No, that's what we do here, Rant.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just gonna say, honestly, the thing about these shows is what I really like to do is the reason I like episode 1 of a show, and then the ending is interesting. Because again, like 99% of the intellectual content of most shows is contained in like the first episode and the last episode, maybe the first couple episodes. So, and really you could skip everything that happens in the middle. I don't give a shit. Just tell me who won the fights. I don't care. All that matters is at the end, like you end up with and I feel like this is what people really watch for, but they don't know it. It's that like then you get just like the philosophical arguments are presented. And this is what frustrates me a lot in real life too. A lot of the I don't know, like political discussion that goes on in the world is a lot of
take place after the stream.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man.
The only thing I'm saying about it is just that I feel a lot of it is talking about like who or what, when I would much rather be talking about like the larger issues of like why. Like what I want to talk about is the actual philosophical ideas that are being purported. So, for example, you brought up that one with Charles's philosophy and how it clashes with Lelouch's. That like literally takes up about like 2 minutes of the entire series.
Yeah,
in,
absolutely.
Like, in the final episode. And that is an interesting
It wasn't the final
discussion.
episode. It was like episode 20.
You're right. It was close to the end, though. You're absolutely right. But like that is honestly the entire debate. Everything else in the entire show is just like military posturing for power. And
no, I'm with you. I agree with you.
Yeah.
And that is not a criticism
And
of
in Naruto, it's the same exact thing. The whole
Absolutely.
it's a two second idea.
It's just Naruto is just that, and then war. Literally just ninja war. That's it.
Right,
We
exactly.
can
The
sum up
same
in one
idea as
word.
Code Geass, just a very different level.
And but there's other
I was gonna
interesting things
say
going
that-
on, like colonization and all that stuff. I mean, that's good stuff.
Yeah,
but
for sure,
Like
but
no
it's
one,
not-
no one is going to argue that colonization is good. Like no one's taken that position in the world. So it's completely. If you're talking about like examining philosophical ideas, you will not find someone to argue like on that side. So it's almost a waste of time to even make that the premise of your show. If you're interested in pushing forward intellectual discussion, you've got to like Code Geass. Gurren Lagann weaves in the philosophical discussion throughout the entire show.
So
And that's why
that's
I
what
love
that's what I was going to point out.
Okay,
It
great.
seemed the idea, the 2-second debate between Charles and Lelouch, contrasting that with Gurren Lagann, you just like that because it's on replay. You like how every aspect of the show is that discussion, is that disagreement of philosophies. Lord Genome, the Anti-Spirals, and Rossyu were very similar in that sense, as you mentioned in your video.
Well, what I would argue is simply that
replayed.
You know, you're not wrong. We can boil down the entire disagreement of Gurren Lagann into one sentence of like,
absolutely, it's the same basic disagreement as Charles, because it's true. The idea was err on the side of caution and destroy all progress moving forward.
That's exactly right.
That's
exactly
basically everyone's argument.
But here's why I like Gurren Lagann's better. It's because every single Gurren Lagann, and I describe this in my video. It's like Gurren Lagann is a series of concentric circles, like emanating out from the start point all the way out to the end point, and each of those is a little conflict within Gurren Lagann. Episode 1, Kamina wants to go to the surface. The chief wants him to stay in the cave. That is the exact same conflict as what's going on between the anti-spirals and like all spiral races. It's the exact same thing. Lord Genome and all humans on the planet, exact same conflict. They don't want them to flourish. And it just goes out and out and out to the anti-spirals, the Mugen, the face, whatever, versus the humans, et cetera, et cetera. It is the same thing across the entire series. And what you get at the end is the ability to reflect on the series. And it was just such a joy for me to go back after finishing it and watching it a couple times and reflect how, wow, this theme was weaved in from the very start of this show. And I was able to absorb it on all these layers. So now that I'm like reflecting on the show and really thinking about it, I have all these examples of why our characters are correct and why the bad guys are wrong. Whereas with Code Geass, we have literally no evidence that Lelouch was right. And, it's just a show, so they could write it however they want. But like all you get is that colonization is bad.
Philosophical standing. That's the basic.
Yeah.
But also, I still think Rossyu was right. In a lot of his decisions.
I agree. In a lot of them, yeah, absolutely.
The issue is, I don't think anyone in the show was right, and I think that was a big message that Gurren Lagann was trying to
you're right,
relay also.
You're absolutely right, because the ultimate message of Gurren Lagann, as I take away from it, is that certain people have certain roles, and not 100. Like nobody is. There should be no ultimate dictator who is right, who has all decisions can be made. There should be no Rossyu in charge. I mean, not exactly. There should be no Kamina in charge. You should partition decision making and the execution of things among who it's appropriate for those people to do. And maybe that seems obvious, but a lot of these things ultimately boil down to something that seems that obvious. And I think it's just a great message. And they show you on a political and in a wartime scale. And that's a very valuable thing, I think.
Yeah, and like, for example, Liron being the tech guy, having a specific role that he excels at, I think would speak to something like that. But yeah, I think it's a really... Gurren Lagann, yes, it has that conflict, but there's more to it. And like the whole idea of Plato's cave, the whole idea of the ideal, striving towards an ideal, like Kamina. And that's what I think Rossyu makes good points, but he goes too far in the sense that he almost tries to,
hate to break it to you, buddy, but Kamina goes too far too, and he winds up dead.
You know what? I disagree. The only time Kamina went too far was... Well, actually, at no point did Kamina go too far, and I'll tell you why. You're sort of right. If Kamina had lived to be in Rossyu's world, at that point, his worldview, like Kitan's and the rest of the Daigurandon, would have chafed with the kind of control that was necessary to, control a population. But because he died, he was exactly the right man for the job to lead this war against Lord Genome at the beginning. And
now you're looking in retrospect, what would have happened if he would have lived, but that's not his decision.
But that's exactly...
He was reckless, and he was a flawed character. He was a flawed person.
He wasn't reckless, Nux.
He was reckless.
Wasn't reckless.
I agree,
but
he was reckless.
That's why he's a good character. If someone is reckless, they're not a good character.
I am not trying to say a good character. I would never say that. That's exactly what I'm saying. Every man has their place. Kamina should not be in charge of dictating, like logistics of like how the soldiers get fed on the campaign to free the people. Rossyu is the kind of guy for that job. Kamina is the kind of guy to be like the leader of an uprising against an authoritarian evil dictator to free his people from underground, because he has the charisma and the vision to make it happen. And that's exactly what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying he's the right man for every single decision or every single job, and that's it. I'm not trying to say...
And when I say he's flawed, I don't mean he's a flawed character. I mean he's a flawed person, and that's important and
Nux,
integral.
you can
to the
say
show.
that if you want, but he is not reckless because in the situation that they're in at the beginning, in the desperate situation that they're in, you need someone exactly like Kamina, because if they were too practical, too rational, like Rossiu goes too far, they would have said, there is no point in fighting. Let's hide in our caves and pray.
I don't really understand.
I think you guys are talking a little bit.
We're not on the same wavelength here.
Yeah, he's right. He's right. Because I think we can all agree that Kamina has more tolerance for risk than Rossiu. We can all agree on that. And it's the usage of the word reckless, which is a negative connotation that I think is creating a disagreement here. We can all agree Kamina was the biggest risk taker, of the Daigurundan, certainly. And like of anyone we saw in Gurren Lagann, he was the guy who was like, yeah, let's just try this thing. And I think what Animac is saying is that was exactly what the Daigurundan needed to get things done.
I'm not disagreeing with that
point.
That's
exactly. I just think we were talking past each other by not exactly saying, like, but when you say he was reckless, I think Animac is saying like, oh, well, we'll stop, saying that he was the wrong man for the job, but you don't actually mean that. And, he's saying that he just wants you to understand that like Kamina's zaniness, his higher tolerance for risk was
the point I was making was, Animac, do you think Kamina is a perfect person?
No, I don't think he's
that's the answer. That's my whole point.
In many ways, he is an ideal. I don't think there is such a thing as a perfect person.
An ideal does not mean perfect. Right. He just said it. It does not mean
that's exactly
person.
My point. That's exactly my
then
point.
Then we all agree. Fantastic.
Great.
Only Jesus Christ is perfect, Nux.
No comment.
I could take Christ in a fucking boxing match. Christ is a fucking pussy. I could box him out, no problem. Send that boy down here, God, right now. I'm ready. I'm ready for him.
Yeah.
No. I'm the best guy ever, motherfucker. What are you gonna do? Throw those hands.
Yeah, but you're not the best God guy ever.
Well,
just a guy.
Okay, fair enough.
Well,
I was gonna say something.
I win. God loses.
Awesome. Probably. One other thing that I wanted to really talk about is I don't know if you guys. I don't know if you've heard of him, Nate. Jean-Jacques Rousseau, the philosopher.
I forget what he's done, but yeah, I know the name. Did he write? Yeah, no, I can't remember. What did he do?
So he's the guy that talks about a lot of different things, but one of the things he talks about is he talks about society being corrupt, man by nature being good by being corrupted by society, stuff like that. And one of the things he talks about is the sentiments. And he, in the time of the Enlightenment, when people were saying rationality over emotion, he was a sentimentalist. He said, no, human beings are driven by emotion. You need that.
He wrote the social contract. Yeah. Okay. I'm familiar with him. Yeah.
Yeah. But like, that's not the essence of the social contract. But it's funny because how the anti-spirals are essentially the anti-Rousseau people. And Plato and Rousseau are my favorite philosophers. So I loved how I feel like both were in there. And I wonder if Rossiu, even though he's not like Rousseau's philosophy, if the name is a reference to Rousseau, because I 100% think that Plato's cave was the basis of the beginning.
Absolutely. Yeah, no doubt.
So yeah, I wonder.
That's an interesting point. And you know what's interesting about Gurren Lagann? I mean, it's just interesting that it's all these ideas from like all over the world, and I find it really interesting that it just fascinates me on a fundamental level that all these ideas, like there's such a gigantic anime fan base of this content made by this tiny little island in East Asia that produces all these like themes and ideas that connect to so many people across the planet, and everything in Gurren Lagann was cooked up by like Nakashima and Imaishi, these two like Japanese directors. Obviously, they've got a passion for like the medium of animation, or at least Imaishi does. Nakashima is a writer, so I don't really know what he's passionate about. Anime, obviously, because he works in the industry. But like the fact that you've got these guys who are basically like modern day scholars, at least Nakashima, and that they put all these things into a little package called an anime, called Tengatoppa Gurren Lagann, and it just encapsulates so many ideas that for a guy like me, it was exactly what I needed to hear. And it just made such a difference in my life. And I keep going back to it year after year, thinking about it. It's just an amazing thing, man. Art can really make a difference in the lives of people, if 100%. You really put a lot of thought into it and make it more than just those first two surface level things. If you can hit somebody with some philosophy and some relatable characters, you can really give them some direction in life, negative or positive.
Gotta ace those 3 levels.
That's right. That's right.
And you know what? And like, I agree 100%. I think to me, like on a platonic level, Gurren Lagann gives you a glimpse of truth, like an essence. I'm an essentialist. I believe that there's an essence in things, a divine inspiration. I believe in that. And I think that Gurren Lagann is a huge example of that. Obviously, great books and things like that as well. But one thing that, in terms of the 3 levels, I felt that Evangelion did not ace the first 2 at all. Like the characters I thought were not very relatable, and yet the philosophy just floored me.
Yeah.
Especially at the end of Evangelion. Like, I'm being literal. Like, I finished it. I laid down on the floor in order to process what I was just seeing.
You know it's true because he said that before.
I told Animac to lie down on the floor, and he actually did it. The absolute madman.
Mad lad. What are you wrong with you, man?
Got him.
Mixing your lingo here.
My bad.
Well, anyway, the Gurren Lagann stream went really well.
Yeah, it did.
So, this is great.
You know, I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to talk about Fate Zero more. I had no intention of filling up all that time.
No, it's great. Don't worry. There's Best Anime Ever Part 2, or we could talk about more Gurren Lagann.
Yeah, okay.
All right. It'll be wonderful.
No, but I can get like this about like Fooly Cooly as well, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. So there's a lot of them.
Yeah, I need to rewatch the old classics that I've seen in like pleb Nux phase.
Yeah, I haven't watched a lot of. I've been meaning to watch Evangelion again. I watched that when I was like 15, and I didn't understand anything that was happening. Got to do it again.
Got to rewatch. I watched it when I was like 22-ish.
Yeah,
so it was more interesting.
Well, rewatch the old ones, guys. Rewatch them.
Yeah, there's something there. Harem and boobs is not everything.
I mean, you can have harem and boobs and still have a great anime, though, but it can't be everything.
Absolutely. I would argue, I mean, I've made this point that like High School DxD is one of my, or High School DD. No, wait, sorry, not that. Fucking High School of the Dead. High School of the Dead is one of my favorite shows. Yeah, and there's just a lot of great shit in it's not as intellectual as like a Gurren Lagann, but there's a lot of good stuff in there. And just the way the characters interact, there's a lot we can learn about, I don't know, productive structures and independence and societal norms and conditioning, and how like an anarchistic system can allow people to flourish, which I would just call sort of breaking the mold of what's going on and striking out on your own. But we'll get into that another time.
Yeah, and by the way, my brother
best anime ever
paper for High School of the Dead. So he really likes to do not, just advice, do not fap to the OVA, or at least if you do, finish before the end.
It's far too late for that, my friend.
Finish before the end. Okay, then. Like, before the last 3 minutes. Just advice.
Fair enough.
Good we have you here, man.
Yeah, I'm here to serve.
You're the Kamina. Anyway, thanks so much for coming, everyone. Would you like to say your own individual goodbyes? Like, to the fan base?
Fan base, listen up. If you're not subscribed to Best Guy Ever, then literally delete yourself from real life. Or go on over and subscribe right now, because you'll hear a lot more.
That's your only chance to redemption.
It's your only chance. It's the only way to live. I would highly recommend you do it. There's links. Just you search Best Guy Ever. I'm the top guy.
Of course.
Yep. I'm a good man. I got a Twitter, got everything. Give me money on Patreon. Would be great, so that I can make more content and don't have to work my full-time job. Would love that. So there you go. There's my pitch. And goodbye.
By the way, I love how you switched your tone. Like, that was masterful. It's like, well, you could delete yourself from real life. Or
yeah,
I can
exactly.
save you by
and everyone's eyes just lit up when they finally saw the truth.
Yeah, you see, I show them hell, and then I offer them heaven. That's how you get them. That's how you get them.
Yes, this is all very deliberate. I love it.
Indeed.
And yeah, I'm Animac for Anime Uproar. I make videos, and sometimes I talk like this about very deep philosophy and anime and how anime changed my life. And then people are like, bro, you're a weeb. And I'm like, no.
Now I'm going back to making more Dragon Ball.
Hey, Dragon Ball's a good fun. I don't care what anyone says.
I don't disagree with you. It got that first level.
You know, have you guys been watching, like, there's this guy Geekdom 101 or something who's been making... You know that guy?
I know of him. I don't know him.
He just called me out on Twitter yesterday.
What did he say?
Yeah, I made one. I think on my whole channel, I made like one Dragon Ball video.
Yeah.
Maybe. No, two. I made two one sarcastic one decoded one, which I actually liked, and he's never made content of that level. But okay.
Sure.
And he called me out on Twitter because I put Geekdom in the tags. And he says, whoa, I see you put me in the tags to try to get views. Very nice.
Oh, okay. So just that. Well, that's not that. Well, I don't know. Is that a problem?
No, I don't know him. I told him, well, I appreciate your help. Unfortunately, it didn't work. Video only has like 10,000 views. You're not famous enough.
Oh, yeah. It would really be nice if you were more famous, Geekdom. Get your shit together so we can all leech off you. That'd be a big help. But I was just going to say that what I've been noticing, I've been watching that guy's videos a little bit with the resurgence of Dragon Ball Super. It's interesting to see like guys like that. He is a real like hardcore, like deep lore. Like he kind of criticizes people who like haven't read the manga and haven't like really I feel like there's a lot of us like me who watched Dragon Ball when we were kids who actually know fuck all about like what actually the lore is, like the real deep lore, like exactly what I would criticize on my my show, the Potty Cast, that I do a weekly podcast on One Piece. Yeah, of course. And like I would give people,
oh man,
it's good, man. I mean, if you read it week to week, I think it's a really fun show, and we're growing, so everybody subscribe. But what I like about
I'm trying to get into One Piece content actually because
you made that video, right?
I made that video, but also an issue I have with Shonen Tube altogether is there's so much superficiality.
Absolutely.
I feel like there's something I need to add. And I'm not a Dragon Ball guy. I never got into Dragon Ball. One Piece, I feel like I could do. Naruto, I feel like I can add. But not Dragon Ball. So
you know, for about like One Piece is my favorite thing ever, and I read it every week. It's my baby. It's incredibly important to me. So that's why I do the podcast with Hypocrite.
You're gonna love my Katakuri video that I'm hopefully putting out.
Well, sounds good. Sounds good.
Because it actually, you know, your resurgence of themes with Gurren Lagann, how it's one message over and over. It's the same exact thing with Katakuri.
Have you seen? I mean, I totally agree. Have you seen the video that was just put out by Craftsdwarf, which was he's a up and comer, but he's he kind of pointed out this. It's a very honestly, it's probably about very similar stuff. I mean, it's what Katakuri is about, like the ties of family and his role within the family and why it, like he was arguing why it thematically makes sense he would lose to Luffy. With his like much weaker ideology and his ties to his crew being so much more.
Right. I'm coming from a different angle.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, cool. Cool.
All right.
Check it out.
Well, in any case, and I also wanted to, when you speak, like you don't stop, kind of, and I don't feel right to interrupt you because you're on a roll, kind of. So you said something about first episode, last episode thing.
Yeah.
And I wanted to say that you did a 6-hour video on Undertale.
That's 100% correct. Well, that was a Let's Play. That was a playthrough of the game.
That wasn't a Let's Play. A Let's Play, you're not supposed to know what's going on. This was a commentary.
Okay, that's true. You're absolutely right.
Because that was the most... Okay, no offense to Gurren Lagann, but I personally think Undertale trumps Gurren Lagann.
Oh, God.
That's fine. I wouldn't kill a man for arguing that. Sure.
Oh, let's just promote pacifism. Like, that's
Animac, maybe play the game first.
I will, but don't fucking compare it to Gurren Lagann.
Well, I love Gurren Lagann. I'm sorry, I love Undertale. Sorry, that's my habit to say I love Gurren Lagann. But yeah, I love Undertale.
It's a good habit.
Why do you bring that up? What about that video is noteworthy?
What's noteworthy is that it's not one beginning and ending that matters. It's every step along the way that builds up everything and all the endings.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
So, whatever, there is what to be said about a middle also.
A middle between what? So I'm not following. Where
a middle between episode 1 and episode 27.
No, you're absolutely right. And lots of shows do it right. Like I would certainly argue Gurren Lagann, for example, like every episode, for the most part, are very important. But just a lot of kind of the stuff that's churned out, because there's more anime than ever these days. You know, I've seen them, and a lot of them, philosophically speaking, they really don't put a lot into those middle episodes. And if you want that stuff, they're generally contained to the ends of the show.
That's my issue with Studio Trigger, basically. I feel like they have one little message, whatever the message is, that they want to get across, and they'll get it across.
Yeah,
but over like 25 episodes once.
Shut up. Kill la Kill is also philosophically awesome. Nux doesn't like Kill la Kill that much. He's completely wrong. Kill la Kill has a lot of Rousseauian philosophy. I love it.
I've been meaning to rewatch Kill la Kill for I don't know, like 5 years now, because I feel like I did not fully digest it, just like with Gurren Lagann. So I need to rewatch it.
Let's all three of us rewatch it. Let's hook it up somehow.
Okay.
And let's watch it, and then I will.
Why does it have to be Kill la Kill?
Because I will educate you, Nux.
I mean, I love Satsuki.
On why that beautifully orchestrated fan service is so important to the fucking story.
I totally believe that. I mean, yeah, I 100% believe that. That seems pretty clear. But I mean, the character of Satsuki, I think, is wonderful. I don't know, Mako's great, etc. It's a good show. I just want to watch it again because I watched it the first time being like, can't wait for Gurren Lagann 2, and I was disappointed.
You can't expect that. Like if you're
that was my mistake. Yeah,
Gurren Lagann 2, you'll never be happy again.
You're not wrong.
Until he played Undertale. Right. Anyway, thanks so much for coming. I think this is a great place to stop. Sure. Anyone who hasn't seen Gurren Lagann yet, you should probably check it out. That's the moral of the stream.
Kaiji 2.
You're looking for a game. Yeah, Kaiji 2 and Undertale.
And Fate Zero.
Fate Zero was mentioned like briefly for like.
It was mentioned. It was discussed.
All right, so I can put it in the thumbnail.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, right. So, yeah, maybe I'll have to redo that thumbnail. But
Yeah.
Maybe.
All right. Would you like to do the traditional cringy farewell, Animac? Oh,
Yes.
Cowboy Bebop, speaking of, because that's his traditional cringy farewell, was not that philosophically deep.
That might be true.
Okay, time for your
wasn't
cringy
as
farewell.
deep as Gurren Lagann, but in many different episodes, it explores very interesting things, like the episode where people transfer their brain into a virtual reality, and that's like a religion. It becomes a cult.
What I was going to
Like,
say,
there's a lot of stuff there. Like best guy ever. I hate how
there's
these guys,
stuff
like,
there.
There's quite a few people who think that Cowboy Bebop is boring. It's total bullshit. Cowboy Bebop is awesome.
Fools.
Absolutely. Thank
I
you.
mean, what
Those fools.
Bebop,
Cowboy Bebop is clearly one of the 50 greatest anime of all time.
I mean, that seems pretty clear to me.
Good. I'm glad we all agree. So,
what Bebop has the advantage of, as opposed to a Gurren Lagann, is a less linear, like dependent upon the previous episode story.
Right.
So
they
it has the
can
opportunity-
discuss as many philosophical issues as they would like, just like Kino's Journey is open to do that as well. I'm not saying it's
or like one of my other favorite shows, Star Trek. Same shit. Same sort of thing.
Or Mushishi.
Which Star Trek? Which Star Trek?
Well, The Next Generation is my favorite.
Okay, Next Generation. Fine. I'll give you
I'm quite fond of Deep Space Nine as well, though, but that took a while to get into.
Yeah, I didn't get into that. I only got like a few seasons in and I gave up.
Only a few seasons. Yeah, all right.
I was like, come on, how much Odo can I see?
Yeah,
And Quark is great. Most relatable character in
the
anime.
thing I loved the most, the thing I still think about wistfully to this day, is I missed my friends O'Brien and Chief Medical Officer Bashir. They became my bros, and I miss them. They were such good
Bashir's
boys.
cool. Don't remember O'Brien.
Anyway, I'm spent. That's all I got.
That's like when
Sounds great.
Troy left Community, bro. When Troy left Community, oh god.
Oh yeah. I only watched the first season of that, but I've always heard of the trauma.
Yeah.
Well,
But
no,
anyway,
it's-
so should I do it, Nux?
okay, do the cringy farewell. Do
All
it.
right.
Yes. Until next time, see ya, Space Cowboys.
Not gonna say bang.